Showgirls. Yeah, that's right, folks. This is a big episode of Movie Tales this week because if you are keeping track at home, and you might be because there is a list on Letterboxd, if you're interested in seeing all the films covered on this series on Tsunami Studios, this is the 200th film that we are talking about on Movie Tales. And when we hit the big 100 numbers, I want to talk about a film that is perceived as one of the worst things ever put to camera, put to film. For the 100th film, we talked about Plan 9 from Outer Space, a movie that I like quite a bit because it's insane. So for movie 200, let's talk about Showgirls, a film that at the time was critically reviled, ruined careers, and was perceived as one of the most insane things ever made in mainstream Hollywood. A film that has a massive reputation for just being bizarre and having weird depictions of sex and violence and stuff like that. And a film that I find to be utterly fascinating and quite good. I really like this film. I've always liked this film. And it's kind of ahead of its time in a way. I think if this came out in 2025, it could be a serious awards contender. Maybe not the performances, but, there's so many interesting visual language tricks being presented in this movie. And no matter what people say about it, I have a softness for it. I'm fond of the stuff being presented here. It's really unique, and this is the first Paul Verhoeven film we're talking about, I think. I don't even know if I've covered any of his more modern ones on the channel either. But Benedetta is one of my favorite films of the past 6 years. I love Benedetta. This is such a fascinating guy to talk about. If you don't know who Paul Verhoeven is, he made a lot of kind of Dutch movies. Then he broke through in America, made some big films like RoboCop and Total Recall, Starship Troopers, and those are over-the-top, action-oriented, bloody, insane genre flicks about how insane it is to be American and so much religious allegories in them and memory allegories, and just the guy likes talking about specific stuff: violence, sex, and God. And all those things are kind of present within Showgirls, which is his deconstruction of the American dream, which is so weird to say. This is, I think, is cynical but also patriotic as you get for a movie about Las Vegas. I don't really know if there's a better movie about Las Vegas as a whole. The rise and fall of this place. Sure, you got things like Casino, which is the mobster side of stuff, or, there's the gangster flicks about it. But just a movie that is about the glitz and glamour of a city. I think Showgirls does it better than anyone, because this movie looks so good. The 4K restoration of this thing, it almost looks better than the original film, honestly. The way that this thing pops and the color and the vibrancy is so rare to see in anything. This looks so specific to the 90s while still having classic Verhoeven touches to it. I think this movie's brilliant. It's ahead of its time for what it's talking about, how it's presenting itself. But it's also just doing All About Eve, which is you see something you want, you take it and replace the person who has it, and, the foils that come with that and the harshnesses of reality that come with that. It's the American dream personified. You rise to the top and you fall just as fast because it's hard to maintain that. Verhoeven likes to shine a light on the insanity that is modern society and living normally. He's a very heightened filmic director. He knows you're watching a movie. He doesn't want to show you the realism of that. Everything he does is just this perceived over-the-top aesthetic. That's RoboCop. Violence is crazy and loud, and people are getting their dicks blown off. Everything's just violent and a massacre. Guns are big and violent. This is the same thing for a weird erotic thriller. It's over the top and heightened in terms of the eroticism, the nudity, the way people react in situations. None of it is standard stuff. It is all bizarre and weird, and that is the point. It's not supposed to be taken as this is literal and these people are normal. They're all insane people. Everyone's giving an over-the-top performance. The problem with that is it's not going to work 100% of the time. And with Showgirls, it doesn't. When you have RoboCop or Total Recall or even Benedetta, it does work. Some people know how to do it. Some people don't. And a lot of this cast gets lost in the kerfuffle of the insanity that they're being asked to perform. So to give you a basic plot of this movie, I think we'll just run it down quickly and then talk about like the key elements that go into it. The basic plot of Showgirls is we open up and see Nomi. She's this runaway girl who wants to make it big in Las Vegas being a dancer. The minute she steps into Las Vegas, she is robbed and stranded there, and she meets this girl named Molly. Molly takes her in. She gets a job working as a stripper for a place called the Jaguar, but she really wants to be like seen as like a showgirl, an actual dancer for a big production, a big hotel, do something proper. And she eventually books a role working for one of like the esteemed companies, which is the Stardust Hotel. And when she's working there, she runs into a girl named Crystal, who's like the Eve in this instance, like the person who is at the top that she wants to get, the attention from and take the place of. Eventually, this leads to her sleeping with Crystal's partner, who's also like running the show. Incidences happen where she realizes like it's an unfair industry, and it leads to her doing instances to Crystal, like inflicting pain upon her and making her break her leg so she can take her position and rise to the top. And this leads to instances where people like Molly get attacked by like a famous singer and she like commits violence. There is a lot of knives being presented here and very few guns, but it's just violence, man. It's like over the top weird stuff, all about Eve. And the movie ends exactly how it starts, with her getting in the truck with the person that robbed her in Las Vegas, and she pulls out her switchblade and she's like, I'm gonna kill you. Give me my shit. It's pretty great. So that's the end of the movie. No, I'm kidding. It's amazing how beautiful this movie looks. And I know I said that already, but the actual stage productions, like we're walking through real hotels and casinos when we're on stage. These sets look like shows you would actually want to see. One of the main dances at Stardust is this weird erotic striptease of people on like a deserted desert looking planet thing. And then there's like a weird one about like a goddess where they're like descending from the heavens, and it's very angelic. And I'm like, I would pay to see that show. It's classy, but it's nudity, which is awesome. So we don't talk a lot about Las Vegas. It is a city I've been to maybe more than any other city aside from the one I live in. I love going to Vegas. It's one of my favorite places. I really like to gamble, so I love going there. I like the shows. I like the glitz. I like the hockey team. I enjoy the atmosphere that Vegas presents. I wasn't around during like 90s Vegas, and more modern stuff has kind of like changed drastically. But this aesthetic is always going to be appealing to me. There's something really fun and fascinating about this world, about just throwing the eroticism and the showgirls and like that glitzy nature in the forefront. It's about looking stylized and beautiful, but still sexy. And that's something that is very apparent in this movie. I'm not going to be able to show you a lot of clips from this film because I would say a good 35% of it is just boobs. And that's not a problem. There is some very classy nudity in this movie because it is Vegas and it is talking about showing you the beauty of these dances. So yes, there is nudity and you're seeing some slight male nudity, a lot of female nudity from pretty much every main female character. It is presented in a very heightened way where it's like over the top, insane. It is women with their tops off being yelled at by dudes saying your boobs look wrong, or being like, here, use this ice cube and perk those things up. So that might make some people uncomfortable, and I get it. That's not going to be for everyone, but you got to know it's not insulting these women. It's trying to like show you like this is what they have to go through to be these dancers. These aren't just anybody. You are in an elite academy at this moment for this dance. You're at the top of the field when it comes to this. It's going to be a challenge to achieve these things, and if you don't look a certain way, you're not getting the job. So the nudity is part of the story. I hate to say it. There's a really beautiful sequence where Nomi, Crystal, and Zach are all in a strip club together, and Nomi is giving them a striptease. It is gratuitous. It is necessary for the plot of this story. Like, it shows you she is willing to whore herself out to look a certain way and be perceived a certain way. And everyone's like, this girl's beautiful. Everyone wants to sleep with Nomi. And she just wants to dance. So I think we should get into some of the performances a bit. And this is where the movie is the most controversial. This is an Elizabeth Berkley-led film. She plays Nomi. You might know her best, if you're a younger person, from being on Saved by the Bell. Well, this is like her big shot at breaking into mainstream Hollywood films. And this kills her career pretty much instantly, which is a shame because I really think this performance is fascinating. It's not good, but it is so captivating to watch. You can't look away from the train wreck that's happening in front of you. She is over the top at every sequence. Half the time she's running away from people because they're saying something critical of her and she can't handle criticism. But as soon as she's validated, she just like bursts from the seams of excitement. She does commit to doing full-on stripteases and dancing. She is doing that herself. She gets fully naked, and I'm just... That's good stuff. You know? There is a level of people who understand the importance and the power that comes from doing a performance like this. And I think Berkley, while the movie doesn't help her become a star, this is a performance 30 years on I think you could be proud of. Like, you committed yourself in this way. And while you are over the top and flamboyant in a lot of stupid moments, you are beautiful. You are presenting your body in a way that not a lot of people get to do. You are moving and behaving in a way that not a lot of people can. And it is very impressive to see that. Like, she fully commits to it. And everybody is just like, this girl is special. She is somebody you have to get behind and be around because she understands the importance of dance and she looks this way. And I think there's like the perfect level of Elizabeth Berkley not being a breakout movie star that really makes this feel realistic. This girl's beautiful, but she's not the most beautiful person to ever exist. You're not like watching the world be in love with, you know, who's like the biggest female movie star at the time. You know, like, this isn't that. This is just a normal looking girl who is beautiful, who has the skills to get to this position. I think that works. And I think that's a good contrast to someone like Gina Gershon, who plays Crystal, like the woman at the top of this film. That is an insane performance. That is a performance based on you show your boobs a couple times and you are super horny for Nomi the whole time. Erotic is the key thing to this movie. Very, very erotic. And Gershon's character is like, please, make my boyfriend come in his pants while you're dancing on him while I watch. That is sexy. And it's kind of fun to see that. And it might be like the most graphic the film gets in terms of like its sexual depiction, because the most of it is just stage performances of people dancing. Yes, there are strip teases and we're doing stuff like that. When Nomi gets the job working for the Stardust and she's doing the big dances there, it's just literal like stage dancing with your partner and doing stuff like that. There is this side plot with Glenn Plummer, who's like this bouncer that sees Nomi dancing at a club. And he's like, you're too good for this shit, girl. I'm actually writing a really good thing. It's going to be like some good choreography. It's going to be like professional dancing. It's like a weird subplot of this movie. The idea that, do you come to Vegas because you want to see like beautiful, artful nudity? Or do you just want a girl to sit on your lap and like rub her tits in your face? And both of those are things that this movie presents really well. Like, Verhoeven gets it. He's like, this is a city that's built on sin and lust and hate. So you're going to see men yelling at women while they're the most beautiful creatures to ever roam the earth. You're going to see these people are handsy and gropey and insane, but they're also professionals and capable of understanding the situation they're in. These girls are burlesque dancers and they're going to bring their kids backstage because they're just used to growing up in this environment. Monkeys are going to run rampant backstage because there's acts happening all around you. You're in the green room. There's just people there helping you with stuff. All of it makes perfect sense. It is over the top and heightened and leads to some very weird sex scenes. Well, not like... I guess one in particular is the weird sex scene. So should we just talk about it? Kyle MacLachlan's in here. He is dressed like he is Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3. And he is the guy who like runs the show. I think he run the hotel? I can't remember if they say that. And he is dating Gina Gershon's character, but starts sleeping around with Nomi. And they have what can only be considered the weirdest like sex in a pool ever. Now, folks, it's a lot of great places to have sex in Vegas. I don't know if in a pool is the first choice you go to. Not that even looks like they're having sex. They're touching each other, and she's holding onto him, but I don't know how the proportions are like laid out in their bodies to make that look realistic. Water's not a great place to do that. But it makes for some very interesting sequences of a woman who's like floating above the water with her tits bouncing out and water splashing on her face. Yes, Verhoeven, I get the metaphor. Thanks for telling it to me as clear as day. Man, this is just the type of film you only get one shot at making. If you're going to do, this is like a really mature, over-the-top, heightened look at Showgirls in Las Vegas. You get to do that once before everyone turns away from it. And I can't think of this being executed any other way. There are like long tracking shots of like walking through stages or walking down the street. There's just like an actual beauty presented to this city that I think works really well. Everyone treats this girl with a certain dignity that is earned, and she feels like she's capable of having it. There is something about Vegas being presented here that feels earnest, and it makes it special. And it doesn't hurt that the costumes are good. The cinematography is good. The script is fine. It might just be the acting. I don't know if Verhoeven perfectly like dialed everyone into the tone he was going for, but that happens. Not everyone's going to get what you're trying to accomplish right away. Because sometimes you say some weird stuff and have them recite weird stuff and try weird stuff. But it all comes together in like a fairy tale of someone learning a lesson. I think she learns a lesson. Her friend Molly gets sexually assaulted by this guy named Andrew, who's like a big musician, and abuses her and rapes her. And Nomi seduces him and like threatens him at knife point. And just goes like, well, I kind of burned every bridge I have left in Vegas. I protected my friend. I'm just going to get out of here. She also trips Crystal down a flight of stairs where she breaks her leg and can no longer perform. And they say their goodbyes in a hospital room. Like, how do you think I got my start, bitch? Give me a kiss before you leave. A lot of kissing, a lot of boobies. But if you're comfortable looking at that stuff, what else do you want? You know, it's Vegas. It's not grimy Vegas. It's the glitzy, glamorous showgirl Vegas. And that's always beautiful to see on screen. You are going to cringe at some of the moments, especially that Berkeley is doing. But then sometimes she shows you why she got this job, because she can just storm out of a room like nobody's business or really get into the dance numbers. Like, the dance numbers are incredible. How they handle it, how they are capable of it. I don't know. I think it's kind of good. Harshly treated at the time, but I understand. I think people in the 90s were different than people now, where this is kind of like artsy. You don't have a Nora winning Best Picture if you don't have this movie, is the best way I could describe it right now. Because it opens the door that this is something that can be an aesthetic in a world that has actual depth and nuance to it. Even if someone like Verhoeven's like, it's just about how boobs are religion. And I'm like, you're right, dude, they are. It's kind of great. You really found something here. I don't know what it is, but you've honed into it, and I think it's kind of cool. So I have a lot of respect for this movie. It's definitely worth exploring and worth talking about. And I'm glad that when we come here and do like these big episodes where we talk about these shitty movies per se, they always make me feel good. And they're interesting to talk about and explore. And they look great. This has a beautiful 4K transfer. If you haven't seen Showgirls, get your pals together, get your gals together, watch some really fun pool sex. Like, it's not realistic, but nothing in this movie is realistic. That's the point. It's Vegas. And what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, which is kind of like the bookend to the movie. So, folks, that's going to do it for the 200th film on Movie Tales. Thank you all for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.